People have been thinking about dreams all their lives. They associated dreams with mysticism and the occult. Many have argued that it is spirits entering the head, hypnotizing and casting spells. And you remember that every dream prophesies in your life, and you should know how it happens. That's how my dream turned out to be reality. Still shivering to the point of goosebumps. The night began as usual, in silence, soaked in the coolness of October. The slight draft lazily moving the curtains seemed alive, like the breath of something invisible lurking outside the window. The time was 03:12. The phone screen was barely flickering, reflecting Artyom's tired face. He didn't remember closing his eyes. How often it happened, a thought of one thing, a moment of darkness, and you were already somewhere far away, unchecked, unaware that the dream had begun. Only this time was different. He stood in the midst of the ruins. Everything around him was shrouded in a thick gray mist. Ruined columns, black grass, silence. There was a feeling in the air. Forgotten. He felt as if he'd been here before, but that was impossible. He didn't know this place. In the center stood three figures. Tall, masked, without faces, cracked like old porcelain. They didn't move, but he knew they could see him. "You don't have to remember," said something silently just inside my head. The fog suddenly came to life, swirling in a vortex, and one of the figures approached. Her presence pressed, as if time had stopped. There was emptiness in his eyes. But in that emptiness, he saw himself. He's awake, a sharp intake of breath, sweat on my forehead. The room is still the same, but the feeling is different. My heart is pounding fast, like after a run. The words echo in my ears, "You mustn't remember." Artyom reached for his phone. 03:12, the time hadn't changed. He blinked, looked again. 03:13. "What the?" he whispered. He could feel it. It wasn't just a dream. Too alive. Too meaningful. And most importantly, he remembered everything. Every detail. It was unheard of for him. Usually dreams evaporated like morning fog. He went into the kitchen, poured water. The cold stream brought him back to reality a little, but the feeling wouldn't go away. He decided to write it all down. Every word, every figure, every stroke. Thus was born the first entry in his dream diary, a notebook that had been gathering dust on the shelf for 2 years. The next day, as if on a hunch, he started looking. Why do we forget dreams? During sleep, the brain redistributes activity. In the REM phase, sleep seems vivid, but norepinephrine levels are low, so information is not captured in long-term memory. The hippocampus is resting. It's only if you wake up during sleep that you can remember some of what you've seen. The usual explanations. Logical. But it wasn't enough, because this dream defied logic. That same night, he fell asleep with the thought, "If I see them again, I won't be afraid." He was back in the ruins. It was the same, the columns, the fog. Only now he knew what he had to do. He stepped closer to the figures. They did not retreat. "Who are you?" And again, the voice in City died. "We are the Guardians. Oblivion is a gift. You have broken the boundary. Now you will see." Scenes flashed before his eyes, not his life, not his memories. Ancient cities, stars in a different order, people in clothes he had never seen. He felt these were other people's dreams, forgotten, buried, and he touched them. Now a strange thing began to happen. During the day, he started having moments of déjà vu. First, little things. He knew who would come into the cafe after him. Then the words the stranger would say. He felt fragments of other people's dreams, as if they were seeping into his consciousness. He told his friend Lara about it. The latter, laughing at first, suddenly confessed, "Do you know about the myth of the Guardians of Oblivion? My grandmother said they guard the border between dream and reality. If you see something you can't see, they come and make you forget. And if you don't forget, they can come again. Not in your dreams." Artyom turned pale. He had never told her the details of the dream, but she had described them, the masks, the columns, the fog. "How do you know?" "I've seen them too," she said. "When I was a kid, and then I forgot. Until now." Now Artyom knew he was not alone. Dreams are not just random visions, and not all of them we forget by accident. Ahead is the quest for the grad without time, the mysteries of an ancient diary, and meeting those who remember everything, even what they should have forgotten. The first days after the meeting with the Guardians passed like a blur. Artyom felt that something had changed inside him. He became lighter. No, not physically, but mentally. It was as if the boundary between reality and dream had cracked, and a light, barely perceptible but alien, was now oozing through it. Each night he fell asleep again and again with the hope of returning to that world. But the fog did not call. The figures were gone. Only silence remained. The night passed without dreams. Or do I not remember them? I'm beginning to fear that the Guardians have taken more than dreams. My memory has gotten weird. It feels like I'm forgetting things that haven't happened yet. On the seventh night, another dream came. He was at the train station. There were no trains, no passengers, no staff. Empty. Only the hands of the huge clock on the wall clearly showed 00. But the second hand was moving backwards. He realized it was a dream. For the first time in a long time, he knew he was dreaming. Everything inside of him became crystal clear. He reached out and felt the cold metal of the railing. His mind wasn't floating as it had been before. He was in control of what was happening. "Where are you?" he whispered. The answer came in a strange way. On the wall, as if from within, the words appeared, "Seek the city. His name is for you." The next night he found himself on the edge of a cliff. No stars, no moon, just the blackness of the sky. Down below was a city made of light and shadow, where the buildings were twisted reflections of ancient architecture. Domes without bases, arches leading into the void, houses as if carved from tears. The wind whispered, "This is the city without time." He tried to walk forward, but his feet felt like viscous tar. He realized that entry was not a matter of chance. The next morning he called Lara. She was silent for a long time when he told her about the train station and the inscription. Then quietly, "I was there too." "In the city?" "Yes, but this place is dangerous. It doesn't just show you dreams. It remembers them for you. And if you stay there too long, you forget who you are." "What does that mean?" "I used to have childhood memories. The smell of the old library, the carousel in the park. Now they're, replaced. I remember sitting on the roof of a house in the city and looking out over a lake of glass. It wasn't mine, but I remember it." Artyom started practicing conscious dreaming. He wrote a diary, did reality checks, and meditated before going to sleep. After a week, he entered the dream and held on. It was a passable alley, which he had seen before, but now he knew. Behind that door, in the windowless wall, was the entrance to the city. He opened it. There's silence outside the door, and darkness. But step by step, as if by the will of some memory, the city began to reveal itself. The sky was like a mirror of water, reflecting the streets. Light without source, soft, as if from inside the buildings. And people. No, not the usual ones. They were transparent, slightly glowing, with eyes full of sleep. He approached one, a woman with a book she hadn't read. He looked into her face. He saw himself as a child. With each dream, the city changed. It sang. It was silent. It collapsed. It was a living thing, and now it was calling Artyom to the center. "Where you find a tower that casts no shadow, there you will know the truth," whispered one of the dreamers. His face flashed like a mirror and disappeared. With each visit, Artyom felt, the city is watching. It wants to be understood, but it doesn't like to be left behind. In one dream, he tried to go beyond it and found himself in an endless corridor where the walls shrank ever closer. He woke up with a bruise on his arm. Artyom realized the city is not just a figment of the imagination. It is a place between worlds, a place where memory and soul become confused, where other people's lives become yours and yours become forgotten. He began to construct a map, streets, images, symbols. He knew that everything led to the center, where perhaps the reason for the Guardian's appearance and the mechanism of oblivion itself lay. But there was one question that kept coming up. What if he had been there before? and just forgot. Artyom's dreams began to change. They were no longer separate from life. He could no longer distinguish whether it was a dream or a memory of the future. In one dream, he saw a girl in a blue cloak standing on a bridge over a river covered with glass ice. The next morning he met her. Same clothes, same pose, the same emptiness in her eyes. She looked at him as if she recognized him. "You are, aren't you?" she started, but stopped short. "No, I'm sorry, it was just me." But he knew. She had dreams too, a dream, a room. The only thing inside is a mirror, a huge antique one. Artyom looked into it and saw, not himself. The features are similar but darker, harder. The face of a man who looked at him with contempt and a slight sneer. "You are weak," said the reflected Artyom. "That's why you don't control dreams. They control you." He tried to turn away. He couldn't. The mirror held his gaze. The reflection came out of the glass and stood in front of him. "I am the shadow. What do you want?" "Not what I want. It's what you're afraid of." The next day, Artyom found Lara's old book. On the cover was an embossed embossing. Archetypes in the collective unconscious. Jung, it all fit. The shadow is the part of us that we reject. Aggression, envy, fear, desires. But it is in it that strength and truth are hidden. From then on, the shadow came in every dream, sometimes silently, sometimes arguing, sometimes seducing. He saw her living another version of his life, brave, determined, sometimes cruel. Artyom began to realize, this version is not an enemy. She is a part of him. Dreams began to change the rules. Now they came even during the day, in the form of flashes, lapses. He saw events that hadn't happened yet, a fire, a bus stop, a woman with a gold earring running across the street. He once tried to warn a passerby from a dream and saved her from being hit by a car. She was screaming. He was shaking. But then he couldn't remember his little sister's name. Each prophetic dream took something away. First, little things, a favorite childhood dream, a teacher's face, then names, smells, poems. The city without time didn't give freebies. It demanded memories as payment for opening up the future. "You want to see everything," Lara said, "but what will be left of you when you forget who you were?" In his dream, he entered a library. There were no books there, only rooms filled with transparent spheres. Inside each one was a fragment of someone's memory. He heard a voice. "This is where the dreams of all the living are kept, but you are the dreamer. You can go into other people's. Watch, change them." He saw a soldier's dream, a girl, an old man, experienced each of them. The feelings were real, but then he realized one emotion stayed with him forever. Other people's rage, it's in him now. "I'm not afraid of you anymore," Artyom said. "But I'm still inside," Shadow grinned. "You want to forget the pain? Give up another dream." No. Then, remember, everything, you, me, what you hid, your first loss, your guilt, your real name." Artyom opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor of his apartment, his diary in front of him. The last entry, "I remembered an incident in 2008, the sound of water, the river, the voice of my brother. I turned my back. He fell. It wasn't forgotten. It was displaced. I know now my shadow was born in that second. She was where I couldn't be." He cried, not in a dream, in reality. The dream began strangely, not with images, but with smells. Salt, moisture, the mold of old books. Artyom was standing on a wooden wharf stretching out into the whitish mist. Somewhere ahead, the water splashed, but he could not see the shore. In his hand was a compass. Its hand was spinning like a madman. But suddenly it stopped. It pointed forward. "Over there," a familiar voice whispered. Lyra's voice. He stepped into the boat and the fog engulfed him. He woke up standing knee-deep in black sand, the beach receding into the fog. All around him was debris, clocks, toys, books with no names, photographs with blurred faces. Everything seemed recognizable but alien at the same time. The island was rising in front of him. Houses, towers, staircases leading nowhere. Everything seemed to be assembled from other people's dreams, pieces of forgotten worlds. put together without logic, but with some elusive meaning, and silence. No one spoke in this place. Only the wind whispered from afar. You'll forget too if you stay. Artyom met them at the library without names. The people were strange, translucent. Someone was drawing figures on the ground. Some were screaming silently. Some just stood looking out to sea. They were like you once, said an old man in a cloak made of newspaper pages. Dreamers, looking for answers, but stayed here too long. Now all they remember is what they forgot. What about you? The old man smiled sadly. I'm an archivist. I record dreams that no one remembers. He led Artyom deep into the library. There, instead of books, were jars filled with mist. Each was signed. Dream number 7834, woman, 1971, missing upon waking. Or dream number 0021, child, crying, lost. All dreams live. They're looking for their masters, and sometimes they call them back. Artyom heard singing among the jars. He followed the sound and found a glass room. Inside was a fragment of a dream, his old, forgotten nightmare. He stood in the school corridor, in the emptiness, where the bell rang, but no one came out. It's yours, said the archivist. It's been here a long time. You left a part of yourself with it. Artyom reached out his hand and touched the glass. The world erupted. He found himself in an alley flooded with blue light. In front of him was a girl with eyes the color of the moon. I'm your first dream, she said. You forgot me when you were 6, but I'm still waiting. Why? You wanted to talk then. You knew that dreams were a conversation, not a fantasy, not a slip away. It's a voice above you or inside you. You'd ask, who's there? And I'd say, and now you're ready to ask again. Artyom was shown the heart of the island, the vault. There in a circular hall were stored fragments of truth left by dreamers, pictures that painted themselves, music that sounded from the walls, and most importantly, the door. It was covered with writing in a language that did not exist, but he realized that this door did not lead to another dream, but to the essence of the dream as a phenomenon. The island is not a finale, the archivist said. It's a crossroads. It's where you choose to be part of reality or to be the one who dreams it. When Artyom woke up, the sand was still in his pockets. Real sand. Black. On the table was a note he hadn't written. The next step is to go beyond the dream, into the mechanism itself. You've seen the voice. Now hear the one who speaks. He's back. Everything seemed the same as before, morning, coffee, windows, street, noise of cars. But the world had become more transparent. No, not literally. He could see beyond the surface more than before. People moved as if they were dancing to a predetermined score. Words repeated like patterns from a dream, and especially the dreams of others. He began to feel when someone in a dream was calling out or drowning. Artyom woke up, but the dreams didn't let him go. It all started with a casual touch. He shook the hand of an old man at a bus stop, and in that moment, he saw his dream. No effort, a staircase leading down, a woman standing on the threshold, the speech he hadn't dared to make 30 years ago. That same day he felt it again, in the subway, with a boy falling asleep on his mother's shoulder. Then a woman in a cafe, a dog in the yard. Every living thing was a node in a web. The dreams were threads. He began to see them intertwined. It wasn't just a gift, it was a system. Dreams are not personal, they're the internet of souls. He tried to find rational explanations. He turned to neurologists, to somnologists, even secretly to former scientists who had studied DMT and conscious dreams in the 70s. One of them, the half-blind Professor Gutman, said, "We thought dreams were the brain's way of processing experience. Then we thought they connected us to the past. But now I know it's not memory, it's the language of the other side." Which side? The one that watches us while we sleep. First, the smell of rain disappeared, then the baby picture he had kept since birth. There were no faces in the picture now. Then more. Dates were mixed up, names confused. At one point he realized he remembered all the dreams, but he was forgetting the bits of reality. For every knowledge is a forgotten touch. Lara said. She reappeared again, but now as if from outside the dream, not inside. You're dead, aren't you? I've become part of the flow. You were lucky. You didn't reject, you went all the way, but now you know what it pays. That's it? She nodded. No, you can choose, go back. Forget, go back to being normal. Or stay awake. He sat by the window, looking out at the city, felt each person going through the layers of their dreams without realizing it. He could touch them, change them, wake them up. But then they would pay too. Artyom reflected. To have the power to remember is to have the obligation to keep silent. He opened his journal and wrote, I won't tell, not to anyone, not one person, because I know now the hidden is hidden for a reason. But if you're reading this, then you've started to see too, and you realize that dreams are not an illusion. They are another truth, and now it's yours. He closed the journal and chose not to forget. He fell asleep for the last time, not because he was tired, it was because he needed to talk to the one who was always there at the center of the network. Not a gump, not a person, not a voice, just consciousness, a watcher, the one waiting for us to wake up. Is it worth knowing what has been hidden? The answer is yes, but only if you're willing to forget that you were an ordinary person. Thank you for your attention and for letting this story be a part of your day. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. See you again.